to be able to, really bring Norfolk Island to like a national stage and to be able to highlight its beauty, but also everything that has been done and is being done to protect the species there, by these partnerships and by the management team. Like, I think it's such a beautiful place that people don't really know that much about. And this is exactly the kind of work that I want to be doing. And I think it is going to make a big difference, which is exciting.
Welcome to Ecology Matters, a podcast from the Ecological Society of Australia. In each episode, meet a different ecologist. Discover what makes them passionate about Australian ecology, what their hopes and fears are for the future of our natural world, and why they think that ecology really does matter.
Yeah, that's when I was hooked.
It's really about pursuing one's curiosity and one's passion.
I wanted to understand more of the mechanisms behind these things.
I could see what I could contribute to make it a better place.
I instantly fell in love with Norfolk.
It's an amazing result to start with, and promising leading into our next experiments.
I have to feel it's making a difference.
I often feel like I have the best job in the world.
It's absolutely huge. It's been so wonderful.
On the show this episode is Allie Nance. Allie is currently completing her PhD looking at the nesting success of endemic songbirds on Norfolk Island, which includes understanding invasive rodent populations and designing innovative control methods. Invasive rodents are seen as a key threat to native plant and animal species on Norfolk Island, including breeding seabirds and the endangered Norfolk Island Green Parrot. Allie's research has already led to changes in the way that rodents are monitored and controlled on the island. It has also been incorporated into the current review of the Norfolk Island Region Threatened Species Recovery Plan. Allie was awarded the 2021 Ecological Impact Award in partnership with Norfolk Island National Park Natural Resource Manager Mel Wilson.
For me, it's really important, any research that I do, that it has direct implications, and that, the practitioners that would be, that information would help are actually able to access that and use that and implement that and adapt that to their needs, to actually, because that's the whole reason that, conservation researchers are in this, whole field, right? Because we want to make a difference, and we want our research to help all of the incredible projects that are happening. This project that Mel and I have been working on together, it's just one of the multiple projects that is the collaboration between, the Clark Lab at Monash and Norfolk Island National Park. It's been really great to be a part of, this broader collaboration, because there's been so much interesting work that has been going on since I think about 2016, I think is when kind of the first, actually my PhD was started because of an honours project that started with one of the songbirds that was threatened by rodents.
So there's sort of a suite of endemic passerines on Norfolk that not a huge amount of information is known about them. There's the robin, which has probably had the most research done for it, but there wasn't really any understanding of major threats and things like that. And my PhD sort of went off the back of an honours project, which was looking at nest survival for the robin. And then I expanded that to do the nest survival of the 5 endemic species altogether. And a key finding from that was that, rodents are far and away the largest or the most common nest predator, the most common cause of nest failure. And then off of the back of that, because the park has been, doing this really intensive rodent control for such a long time, but we're still seeing, these, massive impacts on native species, Mel really just wanted to basically get some questions answered. So that's when our partnership sort of started, because in my first season, I was sort of seeing this, and all the 5 species, they all, rodents are the key nest predator. And, some of these species, they're all tree nesting species. And, I had nests that were, 10 meters, 8 meters. And, the rodents didn't seem to have any issues, even on these, really precarious little thin branches, something that you would assume would be kind of safe from like a heavier mammal. They really didn't. They're so nimble and they're so agile that they can really reach most places. And the honours project also saw, she was doing rodent transects, so monitoring in the evening and was noting the height of the ground that she was detecting rodents. And she found that about 80% of the rodents that she detected were above ground. And so that kind of started to concern Mel, and that's where she wanted to kind of, bring in sort of more research into this area, just like how much of a problem is this? Is this something that we need to actually be addressing in our sort of control strategy? So that's when we sort of sat down and just needed to get some basic understanding of how common rodents were, on the ground, in the mid-story, in the canopy, and, whether doing sort of control elsewhere, like not just on the ground, whether that's going to, make any impact in the rodent control strategy. And that would just sort of feed onto all of the native species, plants, animals, everything. So that's kind of how that all started. Pretty much since rodent control started in the national park, it's always been on the ground using bait stations, primarily with toxic bait. And one of Mel's sort of main questions was she was wondering if such long-term ground-based baiting was sort of causing this behavioral adaptation for more activity in the mid-story and the canopy. So that's just what we wanted to measure, get a baseline for that, and then we paired that also with rodent density estimates, which was looking at a number of different forest types. And we definitely found there was a variation in the number of rodents that you would find in different forest types. So they were sort of most dense in the sort of invasive cherry, guava, these kinds of forests, because it's a really, really good food source. They just have these big, juicy, sweet fruits, and they're so abundant. And so that was, not too surprising. So then we followed up the kind of monitoring in the different stories with deploying some lethal rodent control, and we had really exciting results from that. So I think it was about somewhere between 75 and 80% of the rodents that we killed over a 1 month period came from the above ground traps. We only killed a small number from the ground. So, we were able to identify that, yes, they're spending, 2/3 of their time up in the trees. And yes, deploying, lethal control in those strata is most likely going to have a larger impact on actually controlling the numbers. We're hopefully going to be developing over the next couple of months a more long-term strategy, and just sort of figuring out exactly what it is that we want to know, what we want to achieve, what kind of outcomes we're looking for, and really get a broad scale kind of whole park and hopefully one day whole island strategy going. There's been some pretty massive changes that Parks is sort of working on implementing now. They monitored green parrot nests with camera traps, and they found that rats can go in and out, and they're likely to be feeding on the eggs, so causing nest failure or lower sort of reproductive output in the green parrots. And so they've been deploying, there's sort of a number of different areas that they want to really target, and just deploy a lot of bait and a lot of lethal traps around those certain areas, because the green parrot is still, it's doing really well, and they've been doing an amazing job with recovering the population, but it still, needs a lot of help. And so they've been, whenever they find a green parrot nest in the park, I think they usually then sort of intensify the baiting around there a little bit more. And then, there's one really beautiful tiny, they have gorgeous little land snails in the forest, and they're just like so cute. You'll be walking through the bush, and then all of a sudden you'll have this tiny little snail like on your face or on your arm, and they're just gorgeous little tiny things. And there's so many different species, but there was one that I think was thought to be extinct for quite some time, and then recently they discovered it in just one little valley in the national park, and because of that they deployed a lot of sort of above ground rodent control in that particular valley. Because they're such small, I'm sure very tasty little snails, they'd be a really easy food item for rodents to get at, and would be really easy for rodents to just completely decimate that population. So just sort of targeting rodents in really high priority areas throughout the national park. There was recently also a review of the Norfolk Island region threatened species plan. And so the results from this project sort of fed into that as well. And so that was really exciting. That sort of happened at like the perfect time where we needed to do this review of this 10-year plan for the next 10 years. And it was just right at that spot where we could really push to, implement a big change. So I think it is going to make a big difference, which is exciting.
I think with PhDs and stuff, or any research in general, you kind of go in being like, I'm going to answer this question. And then invariably 20 other questions come out and you're like, oh no. And so I feel like I did my last field season being like, there's so much more I want to know about. So I actually just got an offer to work from Parks. And now I actually have the opportunity to go back and discover more. So it's very exciting.
Ecology Matters is a podcast by the Ecological Society of Australia, a not-for-profit organisation supporting ecologists and ecological science in Australia. We acknowledge the traditional owners and custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present and emerging. To learn more about our work, follow us on social media, visit our website or sign up to our newsletter. You can find links to these in the show notes. This episode was produced by Grace Heathcote and Elodie Comprassi. The theme music is Glow by Scott Buckley. Lastly, thank you to all the ecologists who have taken part in this series and shared their perspectives on why ecology matters.